Hi everyone, welcome to another episode of Tabu Marketing, a video blog that exposes the whole truth about marketing. My name is Delia, and today I'm missing my usual partner in crime, Elmira, my sister, who usually does these videos with me, but today is just going to be me doing it solo. The truth is, the past couple of months have been extremely tough and stressful for both of us. Our jobs have gotten extremely busy, family obligations, trying to find the new normal while also trying to keep sane with everything else that's happening in the world. It hasn't been easy. But at the same time, we're not complaining. We are definitely grateful to still have jobs, to be safe and healthy, for our family to be safe and healthy, and we're definitely grateful for that. So while we haven't been doing a lot of videos, I did try to keep up with our written blog, and I wrote an article a couple of weeks ago about bridging the gap between marketing expectations and reality, where I talk about marketing ROI, benchmarks to use, and setting realistic expectations with the executive team given a certain budget. So since then, I've been having discussions with my marketing peers because I was really curious what their thoughts and insights are on that specific topic, and I thought their feedback was really interesting and insightful, so I wanted to share that with you guys. I'll link the article down below for those of you who haven't read it, but without further delay, let's get right into it. First and foremost, I should have been a little bit more clear in my article when providing examples and research and benchmarks that they are mostly relevant to B2B marketing versus B2C. Full transparency, I've never worked for a B2C company. I've always been in B2B and hence can't really speak to B2C marketing in any capacity, although I do find it fascinating and a huge fan of good consumer messaging and advertising. So the second note, or more I guess food for thought that I got, is to be aware and keep in mind the law of diminishing returns, which is a basic principle of economics, apparently a class that I took in my second year university and clearly should have paid a little more attention in that class, but nevertheless, here we are. And the definition of the law of diminishing returns is, it essentially means that there comes a point in any production process where increasing the quantities of one input yields progressively smaller output results. So going back to my article, when I suggest using a 5-to-1 ratio for planning purposes and projecting budget for the following year, I should be keeping in mind that there will be a point where the only way to keep seeing increases in lead gen and opportunities is to increase the size of the entire system, which again would mean to hire more people, increase your team size to do the actual work. So again, simply put, you can't just keep increasing your acquisition budget to increase demand gen without increasing the size of your team. I haven't really comprehended and scoped where that point, that optimal point would be, where the law of diminishing returns would actually take place, but I'm really curious to hear from other marketers if they kind of found out and figured out how to sort of calculate that optimal point and to know exactly when is that point where you have to start increasing your team size. I would be really curious to hear from you guys. So the third comment that I got on my article was about the correlation of the ROI ratio compared to the marginal gains you're making as a business, which of course depends on the type of business you're in. Typically, businesses with lower margin need higher ROI ratio, and vice versa. Businesses with higher margin can get away with lower ROI ratio. So, for instance, a services company that has 50% margins might need 6 times revenue compared to their acquisition cost, while a software company might only need 4 times revenue compared to the acquisition cost. So of course it all depends on the type of business you're in, and the example that I'm using in my article of 5 to 1, while this is a very widely used ratio and commonly used benchmark, it really depends on the type of business you're in and the marginal gains that you're making as a business. Speaking of different business types, when doing a little bit more research and trying to find different ROI benchmarks for different industries, I came across an article that talks about specific ROI metric, or should I say benchmarks, for 3 different types of businesses, being e-commerce, lead generation, and content. E-commerce, of course, being mostly B2C, selling something online. Lead generation being B2B world, this is the world where I come from, and content type of business being like a newspaper that is like subscription based, and that's where they generate their revenue. So again, going back to my article, I should have been a little bit more explicit about the examples and benchmarks, and the research that I'm providing is mostly relevant to, of course, lead generation type of business, so B2B, and probably less relevant to e-commerce and content, hence like subscription type of business. So just a little remark that I got as well. So the question of whether marketing should be viewed as a capital expense versus an operating expense also came up. All marketers, and quite frankly, most of executives know that marketing is responsible for way more than just generating demand. We foster positive image, we develop and create relationship, we create positive brand reputation, which of course are all the things that are really hard to show on paper in terms of actual dollar value, ROI. So what do you guys think? Do you think marketing could ever be reported on and viewed on as a capital expense versus an operating expense? I'm really curious to hear what you guys think about that. And the very last, but the most common feedback that I got on my article is the challenge of setting realistic expectations with the executive team. Some of the conversations that I've had really made me smile, but of course weren't a surprise, and I wanted to read to you guys a few messages that I got that I thought were really interesting but way too familiar. Marketing is always at odds with every other department. B2B marketers are the scapegoats. It wasn't profitable enough, the leads weren't good enough, we were only successful because our sales team is awesome and product is the best. Again, it made me smile. I thought all these were totally valid, and that's something that unfortunately we marketers have to live with every day, and that I find it the biggest struggle in a marketing world, and just the reality of being a marketer. So of course we already did a video on that I'll link down below a couple of months ago, where we talked about the shrinking lifespan of a CMO, and we talked about the role of a marketer evolving, and the challenge of proving ROI and showing the results for everything that we do, and assigning that dollar value to everything that we do day to day is of course challenging, and that's something we live with. So that was the feedback that I got on my article from my marketing peers that I thought were really insightful and educational and worth sharing with you all. Once again, I'll link the article below so you can actually read it and get familiar with it. But I'm curious to hear from the rest of marketers what your thoughts are about marketing ROI, what benchmarks you're using, if that's a continuous struggle for you, or maybe you've mastered it and can share your master plan with the rest of us. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you find our videos educational and insightful. And be safe, be healthy, take care of yourself and your loved ones, and we'll see you in our next episode. Thanks everyone. Bye.